85 years after the war, the stories of flying tigers lives on in Liuzhou. Descendants of flying tigers travel far to tell the stories of how their ancestors helped China fight the war. Their ancestors' selfless cross-border kindness left deep thoughts in their hearts. In peacetime, this borderless friendship lives on in young generations in new ways.
Each of the photos on this page show my grandfather the day that he received his medal. This was at the Great Hall of the People. You can see that he's very happy and very proud. At first, when we were young, we were told was that our grandfather was in World War II and that he flew planes. It wasn't until we started getting older that we started learning the real dangers that he faced. We hear this one story, it's like, oh, this one time he almost didn't make it back. Actually, he was risking his life every single time he flew. It's quite possibly one of the greatest examples in history of people, that are, come from different sides of the world with completely different cultures, uniting for a common cause and risking everything.
It was about 10 years ago whenever I went with my grandfather on the first invited trip. What really struck me was how these people who had never met him before loved him and appreciated him so much. It went much further and deeper beyond that. At the end of the trip, I told them, I said, my entire life you've just been my grandfather, but after this, I see you as much more than that. It isn't until we're actually here and we're around the people and we see the landscape, we see the environment, we see what was the damage and what has been rebuilt, that hits a lot harder and a lot more significantly, and it puts their words in the past into much more powerful context. If we can remember the history and we can look at the outcome of what we did by working together, I think that's the best and most tremendous thing that we could ask for all these people's sacrifices, that their children and their children's children can get along and learn from their mistakes, and they don't have to go do the same thing. They don't have to go flying through the mountains. They don't have to be buried alive. They don't have to have their children thrown out of a window. We can work together and remember that we're friends, and that's the world ultimately we all want to build.
Memories passed down through generations have rooted the history of the flying tigers in the hearts of the younger generation. Today, an increasing number of young Americans travel to China as flying tigers of a new era. No longer relying solely on stories heard from their elders, they use cultural exchanges as a bond to carry forward the spirit of the flying tigers and write new chapters of friendly cooperation.
So today we were able to play a basketball game, us the American students here with the Flying Tigers, and then Chinese school in Liuzhou. All throughout we're able to joke, we're able to be friendly with each other, and just to have a very good time. I mean, the trip, this is my third one. It's been incredible each and every single time. Each year we gain so much more knowledge of the individual experiences of the Flying Tigers, what they did, all the amazing actions they took, and how the Chinese people really backed them up in that.
Youth exchanges between China and the US have given a new, contemporary voice to the spirit of the Flying Tigers. Meanwhile, a trip to China profoundly transformed the son of a Flying Tigers veteran. Reflecting on the first-hand experiences of his living 105-year-old father, he shares the deeper original aspiration and contemporary reflections behind the Flying Tigers story.
When we came to China in 2023, I had no idea the honor and the respect that the Chinese people bestowed upon these volunteers, the AVGs. That trip changed my life. In school, when I was growing up in history, we were taught about the European theater and the war in Europe. We were taught about Pearl Harbor. We were never taught about the AVGs in China. We were not taught about the atrocities that the Japanese government at the time, and how brutal they were to the people of China. I heard that there was over 20,000 total volunteers that came to China.
Right.
Airmen, support crew, medical people, all of that. Over 3,000 of them, lost their lives doing that. It's not just the story of what the Flying Tigers did. It's what the Chinese people endured, and what the Chinese people did for the American volunteers, and also what the Chinese people did for themselves to survive. There are some very, very touching stories about American pilots crashing. The Chinese people, without a second thought, risked their lives to save these guys. So that's very important for people to understand. I also think the Chinese people are very open people. They don't want anything more than what we want in the US. We want to raise our families. We want to have a good life. And we want to be friends. Yeah, the relationship between the two countries could be so prosperous and so innovative and do wonderful things if we combined our intelligence, our ideas, and certainly combine the people and to be able to understand each other. It would just be phenomenal. And I hope that I see a lot of progress within my lifetime.
From wartime memories to youth sport-filled laughter and veteran descendants' hopes for peace, the Flying Tigers story is never lost to history. The spirit of the Flying Tigers lives on through generations, calling for new strength to carry it forward. Once fighting side by side for peace, today's youth take out the torch across borders, fostering stable and healthy bilateral relations to keep the spirit shining.